When do I learn to teleport better? More efficient teleports would be nice. Nest powers activate. Okay.
We're back.
We are back. Oh no, I hate this guy.
Conrad eats chips.
That's the highlight of this episode. Let me just blow this guy up.
I had someone else to say about the Beach Fossils show.
Tell us more. Enlighten us.
They had 2 openers. Heavenly Beat and Axobraxis, so...
shit you like.
Yeah, exactly. And I get there at least 2 hours before the show starts, and I'm the only person out there except for this other dude who I ended up becoming friends with named Jason. And anyways...
Jason?
Yes, Jason. So we're out there, and like these other people show up in like a van, and it turns out to be the band, so I met the 2 openers before they went on. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then so eventually we get in, the whole other crowd gets there, but it's not very full yet, and Axobraxis goes on. So it's really not full yet, and I'm just jamming out because I love that.
Where was this
album.
that Beach Fossils was headlining?
It was at a venue that is actually a church called the Irenic.
Like what city?
Oh, San Diego.
I thought that was something more.
They're pretty big now, though. But anyways, and Axobraxis goes on. No one's there. You know, basically performing for like 20 people, and I'm like, oh man, that was sweet. Like, talk to you after the show. To the guys in the band, Ben. It's basically just him, unless he's touring. Then
We
he has
know
members.
Ben.
Yeah, Ben Asbury.
Yes.
I'm friends with him on Facebook.
Pretty cool guy,
Yeah,
Ben.
he has a big nose. Anyways, then.
Does that make him like your brother? Like,
Yeah, sure, why not? And
Soul brother?
then Heavenly Beat goes on, and you know more people are filing in because it's getting closer to when Beach Fossils go on, and
Right.
you know there's these like 5 people next to me that are just talking and like texting on their phones the entire time. You know, people everywhere basically, but it was mainly them. They were really loud, and they were gonna like try and start some shit. I was like, I swear to God, if they like fuck with Heavenly Beat, I will fuck them up.
Right.
Because Heavenly Beat does not deserve this shit. And anyways, John from
Getting
Heavenly Beat.
protective of your bands.
Yes. He's like the sole member, but also he was touring, so he has other people. And he literally called out the crowd, and he's just like, y'all really mastered that I don't give a shit vibe. And I was just like, yeah, you tell him, John. And then he asked me later how this show sounded, and I was like, oh, it sounded great, just your acoustic guitar is not loud enough. Anyways,
That's exactly what I said to Agalach after their show. When they asked the people who were straggling, like, how did it sound? And I was like, turn up your leads.
Anyways, Beach Fossils goes on. Place is like packed now with all these like 200 like 16-year-old girls just come out of nowhere. They all get in front of me.
Is Beach Fossils like a 16-year-old girls band? Like,
yes. Any
Yeah,
Capture Tracks shit
Capture
is
Tracks
like
is a lot like that.
16-year-old fodder.
Huh.
Unfortunately.
I guess that's why Brandon likes it.
Oh!
Anyways, they all come out. They're all on fucking Snapchat on their phones, not even paying attention. You know, they're
God.
watching it through their phone.
That's
and,
the only way to watch a show like that. Though.
I don't know. I've very much turned away
Through
from
the
that.
lens of your phone.
I wonder how they feel about that audience.
They don't give a shit.
I think
All
that's
the
a
girls.
very like San Diego audience.
No, I think that's in general. Maybe that show because it was like Beach Fossils and like a lot of younger people like them. But like,
How is that it surprised the total on me?
everyone wanted to suck Dustin's dick. Basically, I made him laugh.
Oh my god, did they just...
But yeah.
They were
Also, I had a dream last night that Mac DeMarco, his
You were at the wall
bassist
last
Pierce,
night.
and John Pina from Heavenly Beat played a show at my grandparents' house, but no one showed up, so they were just performing for me. And then Mac was like, "Do we really have to play?" No, actually, John wandered off somewhere because we live in like my grandparents live in like the country. They have like 10 acres, and 6 acres of it is wood. So he wanders off somewhere. Then Mac and Pierce are going to perform. And then I was the only one there. They're like, "Do we really have to perform if it's just you?" And I'm like, "No, let's get drunk." And then I like woke up because like everyone found out about Mac being there, and they swarmed my property.
Oh god.
And I was like, "Oh god, that was a nightmare." Yeah.
Oh god, okay,
You
I'm
know,
definitely close to the end.
One of my one of the things about concerts is that for me they always end up being really bittersweet because I have a tendency to get into a band because of a concert, which means that I didn't really know their music that well when I saw it, and then by the time they come through again, they've put out an album I don't really like, and they play a lot of songs from that album, and it's like, oh. This has happened a number of times. First, it happened like the chain that comes to mind. This comes to mind because it's a chain. Like I've had a number of shows where this happened, but this was a chain of it happening. As I mentioned before, at the Coheed and Cambria show, the opener was the Deer Hunter, right? And never heard of them before until that show. So I had downloaded all their albums. I had listened to a bunch of stuff. I had gotten pretty into it, but all I had was like, I had made like a mixed CD of my favorite songs from them and listened to that a bunch of times. But I wasn't like super in-depth familiar with it or anything, which I get with music, as you know. I listen to it millions of times. So I saw their show, I knew most of the songs kind of well, and I was like, all right, that was pretty sweet. So I got into them really heavily after that, though. Like, after the show, I got really into all their albums. They became, like, some of my favorite albums of all time. I was listening to them all the time. I was like, man, I'd love to see them again, right? Well, it just so happens that they then opened for Manchester Orchestra, right? Who I'd never heard of at the time. And White Denim as well. White Denim and Manchester Orchestra and the Deer Hunter. I still have never really gotten into White Denim, but they did put on a great show. I'd never heard of Manchester Orchestra, so I started listening to them. Now, mind you, at the time that this show happened, the Deer Hunter had, since the previous show, put out the Color Spectrum EPs, which is a series of 9 4-track EPs representing each color of the spectrum plus black and white. So they're pretty good. They're interesting, but they're not nearly as good to me as their ACT albums were. So I wasn't super familiar with the Color Spectrum EPs. I listened to all of them on the way up to the show because it was in Richmond, and I was like, all right. So I saw them. It was a good, but I didn't know the songs as well because it was new stuff that I didn't like as much. And then Manchester Orchestra comes on. So with them, once again, I had downloaded 2 of their albums. I only really knew a couple of their songs, and I saw them, and I was like, that was a pretty good performance. I didn't know half the shit, though. Then I get really into Manchester Orchestra after that, and again, 2 of their albums become my all-time favorites, and I'm super into it. And then this last year, they put out an album called Cope that I don't like at all. And so if they tour here again, I'm just going to be like, oh, well, I guess I'll see Manchester Orchestra, even though they're probably going to play a bunch of songs from Cope that I don't really like. So, and I'll probably get into some band at that show, too, just to keep the chain going.
The Daisy Chain.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm trying to think what other bands I've gotten into through shows. I know there's been a
I've gotten into... Who the fuck?
There's been a lot of them that I just listened to a little bit after a show. I never really became a fan, but there's definitely a couple bands that it was I got into them because they were opening for a band I liked, and I just wanted to hear what they sounded like. Of course, there's also been plenty of bands that opened for bands I like that sucked balls that I did not get into at all. But whatever.
I got into some bands at Beach Goth.
Beach Goth?
Beach Goth. Who just announced their 4th festival. Just announced their lineup the other day. Riff Raff will be playing really Beach Goth for it.
Let me go over here.
I got into the band Cynic through a Dragon Force show. That was awful.
Dragon Force. We all love Dragon Force.
What weirdest fucking combination ever, by the way. Dragon Force and Cynic. Cynic is a progressive metal band that's very technical and very structured, and it's not really the kind of stuff you really headbang to. It's more of just collected. It's sort of sci-fi-ish. There's always sci-fi themes, and it just feels like a sci-fi album, right? Oh. And then you got Dragon Force, which is going ape shit crazy music, right? Have you ever listened to Dragon Force? You surely know Through the Fire and the Flames. Yes. Okay. So Victor, back in the day, was a diehard Dragon Force fan, right? His favorite band, all he listened to, he loved Dragon Force. And I was pretty into them as well. So they play this show, and we go to see it, and Cynic opens, and Cynic was, great. They did, because they're all, really talented. They played their instruments super well. They all had those guitars that don't have a head on them.
A headstock. Yes.
Yeah, they're just and they all had LED. They were all glowy fucking trippy guitars. What? I'd never seen that shit before, and so I was like, whoa, cool guitars, and they play these cool technical spacey songs. I was like, all right, that was a sweet live performance. I've never even heard of that band. And then Dragon Force comes on, and we're just unbearably bad. like easily by far the worst show I've ever seen. Because they were all
Jesus.
wasted. Not just wasted drunk, but obviously a couple of them were on drugs. And, like, because their music is chaotic, right? Like, but on an album, it holds together because they're all, you know, playing in time with each other. But, like, during the live show, you can tell there's parts where they just straight up were not all playing the same song. Like, one of them would be playing something different, or they'd all be off time with each other. And the singer was being a total douchebag and just, like, spitting water everywhere and just being an asshole.
Oh,
and,
that's
like,
so cool.
they're all clearly drunk. At one point, I swear to God, one of the guitarists, like someone, like I think someone in the crowd yelled that he was playing the wrong part, and he mouthed. I could see what he was saying. He said, "It doesn't matter. They all sound the same." He said that of his own music. Now, mind you, we had seen Dragon Force a year prior at at Ozfest. But it was, like, early in the day, right? Mm-hmm. And they put on a great show. Because they had, like, trampolines, and they were bouncing off trampolines and stuff and being funny and goofy. But they played all the songs right. And they clearly weren't drunk because it was, like, 3 p.m. And then, like, we met them that night at Ozfest. Like, we met the two guitarists, and they were asking us advice on whether or not... They were, like, wasted by this point. Oh. And they were, like... They're both incomprehensible, because nobody in Dragon Force... is like a native English speaker. Right. They're all from different countries. They all met in England, and they all speak with heavy accents. And they were trying to ask us whether or not they should fuck these Catholic girls that they found, like, because they were, like, worried that they were like, should we keep pursuing them because we don't know if they'll put out because they're Catholic, but or not. And then later, after the last show, which I think was like Slipknot, then we saw them when we were leaving, and they were like, "Oh, we fucked those Catholic girls. They were awful." And
incredible.
So that show had been like a magical thing, right? Like, you know, and we got their autographs and stuff. We met them. They seemed totally cool. They put on a good show. But then when we saw them the next time, it was just miserable. This was
my God.
Norva.
That was so fast. Okay, so I just got the Sword of Kings. There's a 1 in 128 chance of it dropping.
Yeah, I've read about this.
During the Dragon Force show, Victor started feeling sick, and like he was like all nauseous and stuff. So he had to sit down through through some of his favorite songs. You know, he was like sitting up against the wall because he was like feeling nauseous and stuff. And so I was like all worried about him and shit too. You know, because we went alone, like just the two of us, and we were kind of young. I think we're both teenagers,
like 10 years old.
Not that young, but so yeah, it was just a shitty, miserable performance, and it sucked. And after that, I immediately upon getting home deleted all the Dragon Force albums from my computer and never listened to them again.
Jesus.
Victor was like trying really hard to convince himself that it was like a great show, but like the more he thought about it, the more he was like, that was miserable and it sucked. And then like he got mad at the band as well and eventually stopped listening to them, which I don't regret, because I have gone back since and like listened to some of their songs and been like, yeah, this is not good. Like, it's only good if you are a kid and you're just like, yeah, entertaining, cool music. Well, I mean, I guess you don't have to be a kid, but like if you just want something that's like, yeah, ugh.
If you're obtuse.
But now I have Galnerius for that, who are a Japanese band that's similarly like high octane fun, but they actually have like songs that sound different from each other and like are like written and not just like a guy fucking just doing whatever on his guitar while a blast beat goes in the background. Because that's every Dragon Force song. It's just a blast beat, like, generic chord progression, and then two guys just going insane on guitars. And they all have the same verse, chorus, verse structure and everything, and, like, it's just basically album after album of 1 6-minute song.
My friend just sent me something about beach
7
fossils.
minutes, more like.
What a coincidence. Some Reddit post.
Man, that's crazy. I'm actually like very surprised at how fast I got the Sword of Kings just now.
Yeah.
It used to I think the last time I got it, it took me like a few hours.
And they're like a whole set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's like, you know,
I actually might get Defeater.
Clothes and shit. If you
have to find every single piece of what's his face's Pooh's items.
How close are we to the end of the game?
I still have to get the second sanctuary, which is at the end of this. Then we have to go to the fire volcano area, and after that we go into Ness's brain, and after that we beat the game. After that we get to the last level.
How much time do you think that would take?
Maybe like if we marathon another day.
Okay. So it's not happening tonight at all.
No.
Okay.
Had
to make sure. I thought we probably had 2 sessions left. But...
this is pretty rough.
Man.
What? You just want it to be over?
Yes.
Why?
It's
It's
too
a
fucking
fun
long.
game. I love this
series
game.
It's gone forever. We're on like episode 40 something.
No, I think we're
You're
well
just
into 50.
you're just not paying
No, we're
attention and not enjoying any of it.
Well, it's not that I'm not enjoying it. I'm just worried about the length of the video series because it's
Actually,
about
I'm
to be our
looking
longest
forward
series.
to
It's
having
already,
it the
it's
longest.
definitely into 50, I'm pretty sure.
I can't wait.
'cause
It's
I
the
uploaded
best.
them.
It's longer than Ocarina of Time
Yeah.
or Dark Souls.
Amazing.
It is.
But that's mostly because the first like 22 videos were like 10 minutes apiece.
Yeah, that is true. We did kind of
Go
fuck up.
back down. I do want to
Mario.
get this.
And then
next
even
one.
after that, we only kicked it up to 15 for a while. Eventually it's to
15.
20. Kick it up to
Then we'll
12
make it an hour
gear.
long.
We could. The last episode of Zelda was like 50 minutes, I think.
It was. And a nightmare.
And a nightmare.
I remember watching that in Florida and I was just like, oh.
It's
my
one of the worst
God.
things ever.
Okay, everyone's doing hundreds of damage. That's great. Just doing their bash. I feel really good now.
I honestly like, on the one hand, some of our worst Let's Plays, like, when you watch it or experience it, it seems awful, but those are the most, like, Crash Bandicoot is definitely the most memorable Let's Play series that we've done. Like,
Jesus.
the sheer horror of it is burned into my mind. I can remember most of what happened in that one, and I can't really say that about the others. There was one time that I thought I would try to like listen to all of the Digibros eps again, and I couldn't because it's my voice,
Yeah.
and I can't deal with hearing my voice that much. Like,
I can't deal with
very
hearing your
quickly
voice either.
drove me insane. Yours isn't much better, Trevor, for me even. Like, I hear yours and I'm like, it's a little too much, Trevor.
A little too much Trevor in our lives.
Well, it's
A
like
little
I hear you guys and myself in my own time. I don't need to hear it again in my relaxation time, my alone time. Like, it's like, it's different if it's like, oh, if I'm watching Game Grumps, it's like, oh, these are people I don't interact with ever, so it's like a fresh new experience. But if it's Digibros, it's like, this is just literally my everyday life, but again.
Why would you listen to your own series?
I thought it would be fun to see them all and like be able to remember everything we talked about and stuff.
No.
I feel like I've done so much better on this entire playthrough than I have on any other playthrough of Earthbound before.
Really?
Even the
Like,
swamp section.
Yeah, even the swamp section. I always get lost in that section for a little bit.
we weren't even on there very long.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was like 50 minutes.
Compared to like other areas of the
Yeah,
game,
it's like nothing.
It's probably like the shortest area.
Huh.
Besides maybe Onet. You really blazed through Onet. Whoa.
This whole game has, like, it's so abstract that when I look at the screen, it's really hard for me to, like, figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm, like, always just out of it. I'm, like, every time I look again, I'm like, oh, we're in a neon colon. Like, where are
A
we?
neon colon.
Neon colon.
We are underneath Stonehenge.
Oh.
Neon colon. So, any of you guys listen to Macklemore?
Macklemore?
Burt Macklin.
Why'd you ask?
I don't know. Because he has a song called Neon Cathedral, and that
Oh,
and Neon colon. made me
I
think
didn't
of
know that. Now I know.
Yes, you do.
Another Macklemore song.
That's not thrift shop.
That's not their shot. He dresses like your grandpa's clothes.
It's fucking awesome. This is fucking awesome.
He's wearing the clothes.
I just realized Conrad has a soul patch.
Like amidst my like giant beard.
Yes, it's still the soul patch. You should shave everything but the soul patch.
It's a very half-ass soul patch. Like
Shoal patch.
It's not
Shoal
very
patch.
complete.
We should watch
It's-
Zardoz.
I think we should. Like, I'd be down to watch that. It looks like a hell.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Zardoz?
No.
You should just, like, watch the trailer.
Zardoz.
I kind of gotta poop.
Well, you know, just watch the trailer as you poop. You'll like it.
Next time on Digibro and Pals.
Zardoz.
It's 1:45:34.